Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, and if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. Now, got a question: is buying land the same as buying as a house? Now, it's buying a house. Now, this short answer is no. There's a lot of differences. I'm going to go through some of the differences. If you stay to the end, I'm going to sort of tell you if you're trying to possibly flip land, what you should do to figure out what it's worth and make some money on it. Now, I've done both land and houses. The main difference between buying land and a house is that it's much harder to get financing for land because you can get a mortgage. When land has a house built on it, it's called improved land. And most lenders will lend you on a house, even if the house maybe has some problems. They'll still lend you, but they will not lend you just on the land, even though the land has value. Land definitely has value. But they don't believe that it's as easily, and they're rightfully so. It's not as easily traded, right? You're not going to have such an easy time selling land because the only person that's going to buy land is someone, usually not the only, but most of the people who can buy land are people that have the capital and the patience to build on it. Most people don't want to do that; they want to just move in. So, in essence, it's a less liquid asset, raw land. Also, one of the big problems with land is that once you knock a house down, you may not be able to build a house back on it. Now, I buy a lot of properties that are legal non-conforming. What that means is that something was built on it before the building department existed. Usually that's what it means. And they're going to let it stay. The municipality knows about it, whether it's a local village or a local township. And they're like, we know this is being used as two-family. But if a meteor hit it or if you knocked it down, you'd never be able to be allowed to build it again. So chances are if something's there already, it's going to be able to stay there. And the lenders know that, right? It's rare that a municipality is going to say, hey, this thing is just wrong. You have to knock it down. But once you knock something down and it's just land, what you can build on it is really subject to whatever the zoning and building code allows. Very often that's different. So let me give you an example. There's a lot of houses in Nassau County that are built on 40 by 100 lots, right? 4,000 square foot lots. Almost everywhere, the minimum square footage size is 60 by 100, 6,000 or more. Some are 120,000 square feet. So if you have a house on a 40 by 100 lot, you can keep that a house, right? And no, the town of Hempstead or whatever town is not going to say you got to knock it down because it's too small a lot, because it was built before the minimum square footage requirements were put in place. But if I knocked that house down and I sold that to somebody else, they would not be able to build on it at all. Think about that. It's crazy. There could have been a house there for 50 years, 70 years. Right? Built in the 40s or 50s. Now you can't build on it. So there's a lot more risks involved in buying land. A lot more. Right? Even if something was there, doesn't mean they'll let you rebuild it. And the example I gave you before, the 40 by 100, there are even smaller lots in all over the place that I bought houses on them and I've sold them and it's fine. Because they're not going to ask you to remove an existing structure, but they're not going to give you a permit to build on it again. So you have to understand that zoning and building codes and building codes have changed through the years. They've gotten more restrictive, and a piece of land may not be able to put a house on, or maybe able to put a much smaller house than you think on it, and therefore it's much riskier. So if you are just trying to sell a piece of land, and I get calls all the time from people trying to sell land, and they go, oh, I have a 40 by 100 lot in Wyandanch, let's say. So there are townships, right? Town of Babylon, where they have basically made a line in the sand and said, we're not giving variances. Let me explain what a variance is. So let's say the minimum square footage is 6,000. The minimum frontage is 60 feet. And there are tons of houses that were built before those requirements went in place on a 40 by 100 lot, which is 4,000 square feet. There was a time where you can go to the township and say, listen, all the houses or a majority of the houses surrounding my house are on 40 by 100 lots. I have a 40 by 100 lot. I like to build on it. And they would say, okay, makes sense. You can build on it. But some townships have put a line in the sand and said, we're not giving variances. So in order to be able to build on something that doesn't meet code, you need to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the BZA, and you need to petition for a variance. A variance means I want to do something that's not allowed, right? So that doesn't always have to be that you build something. It means you want to subdivide a property. It means you want to build too close to the property line, right? The setback, they might want a 10 foot setback from one side, and you want to build 8 foot into it. And you can explain why and the reasons why, and they go, and the neighbors come and say, we don't care, or the neighbors come and say, I don't like that. I've gone in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals in multiple jurisdictions many times. It's not a simple thing. It's not a fun thing either. It's not a cheap thing. But going back to it, there are towns and municipalities who said, we're not giving variances anymore to build on 40 by 100 lots. No way, no how. Now, we don't care if every lot around it is 30 by 100. We're not letting you do it. And there's no rhyme or reason to that, and that has happened. So you have to be concerned. So that's why land is a much bigger risk. So the way to find out if your land is buildable, so as I said before, I get tons of calls, people saying, oh, I got a piece of property next to mine, a separate lot, I want to sell it, it's got value, I know I got offered $100,000 for it 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago, I could have got a variance to build on it. Today, I can't. It may be pretty much worthless. That happens more times than I can even tell you. So here's how you find out if your land is buildable, right? Because if your land is not buildable, it's probably worthless. Unless the neighbor on the other side wants it, right? Just to expand their property. You got to call up the local municipality. So if you're in a village, it's probably the village. If it's in town, if you're in Suffolk County, it's the town or the village. And you got to say, this is my address. I want to know if I can build on this lot. What's the zoning requirements? Sometimes you're going to get jerks on the phone who are going to say, look it up. It's just online. But you want to say, listen, I don't understand this stuff. Tell me what the zoning is, what the minimum square footage is, minimum square foot size for a buildable lot is to build a single family house, and what's the minimum frontage? Oh, sorry. They usually require both of those. So then you'll see if it meets those requirements. If it does, it's buildable. Now, very often it's not. So if it's not, you got to really go. You probably want to meet with somebody in person, either somebody on the Board of Zoning Appeals, somebody who works at the Board of Zoning Appeals, and you want to say, listen, I want just an honest assessment here. Am I ever going to get a variance to build on this or not? And they can never tell you yes or no definitively because they don't know. But they can say you have a chance, you have a reason, what's the story. They're going to always want you to do a radius map. Some places are 100 feet around the property line. Some places are more commonly is 200 feet around the property line. And they're going to want to see how many properties within 200 feet of a circle around it are substandard, are less than what is required. And usually, like Town of Hempstead, for example, you have to be at least 51% of the lots around it within a 200-foot radius have to be substandard for them to even consider getting variance. And then they still may not give it to you. I had a situation in Town of Hempstead. I mean, every single lot on the street was 40 by 100. This lot was 80 by 100, and the house was all the way on one side. So it was just an empty lot, perfect for a house. And it took me 2 years, and I got denied twice to get a variance for it. It made no sense whatsoever. This is not a logical thing. One neighbor said it was going to change the character of the neighborhood. Yeah, it's going to make it more uniform. But these are the kind of things that happen at Board of Zoning Appeals hearings. It's very, very tough. I had a situation in Town of Hempstead where, this is great. You need 12,000 square feet for a two-family. I had a property that was being used as a three-family that I bought. It was on like 11,700 square feet, so I was short by 300 square feet. I just wanted and I said, I'm going from a three-family to a two-family, and they denied me. So it's ridiculous. I mean, the things make no sense most of the time. Now, it's important for you to know whether you might, and so you can ask them, and they can't tell you yes or no, but they can say you have a chance, you might. I'm going through this right now in Town of Babylon, in the village of Babylon, actually. So if you find these things out, and let's say you find a piece of land and you believe it's buildable without a variance, what you should do then is you should go to the multiple listing service and look at all the new construction that happened in that area. Find builders, right? Google them, find their names, call them and say, I have a buildable lot. Now, if it's not buildable, if it needs any kind of variance, almost every single builder I know is going to say, you get the variance, or I'll go into contract with you subject to you getting approval of the variance. They don't want to deal with that bullshit. It's a pain in the ass, and I understand it. I went through it so many times. So they'll give you a deposit, a small deposit, and then they'll give you a price of what they'll pay for it once you get the variance. Now, the variance thing could cost you 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, depends on how long it takes, depends on how much requirement they need, depends on where it is, because some of them require a real estate expert, some don't. These are huge pains in the ass, but that's what I would do if I had a lot that I was sure was buildable, or I was sure was close to be buildable, or I was sure needed some kind of variance that the people told me you probably will get. Then I would go to local builders and I'd say, hey, you want this property? Take this property, take it subject to the variance, and I'll deal with that. Again, you're going to put out money for the variance hearing to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and you may not get approved. So you have to understand that money is risked, and you could lose it all. But you want to do as much research beforehand to see if you should get the variance or if you don't even need a variance. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in my course that teaches how to do what I do, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, getting some more information about that, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any channel, please click thumbs up. The likes really help me. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't know what the hell I'm going to say sometimes. So the comments really help. So please keep the comments coming. If it's a simple question on any topic, doesn't have to be related to the video you're watching, I'll just answer it. And if it's something I've covered in depth or recently, I'll send you a link to a video. And if it's something new, I'll do a new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.